the live stream set up, so we'll start in about 30 seconds if that's okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Devonport councillors and council candidates, good evening and welcome to the Devonport City Council Candidates Night, hosted and moderated tonight by the Devonport Chamber of Commerce and Industry on behalf of the Devonport City Council. For those who don't know me, I'm Dave Race, the President of the Devonport Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and I'll be your host for the night, and shortly I'll introduce my colleagues who will be assisting me with the Chamber theme tonight. Before I outline the proceedings for tonight and introduce the candidates who will be contesting the vacant for the council positions, I'd like to acknowledge and pay respect to the Tasmanian Aboriginal people as the traditional and original owners and continuing custodians of this land, of which we gather today, and acknowledge the elders past, present and those emerging. Tonight's meeting is a public meeting and it will be broadcast on the YouTube from the council's channel. Bit of housekeeping before we start. Toiletry out the back, ladies and gentlemen, on this floor. If we have to evacuate the building for any reason, down the escalators out the front, and the assembly points out Frankie J's across the road. Well, hopefully that won't happen. Tonight, it's with great pleasure I have 11 of the 12 candidates here before you, and shortly introduce each candidate to you. On behalf of the council and the chamber, I would like to personally thank you all for taking time to come out tonight to listen to what each candidate has to offer, and for your questions that have been put to the candidates and help you inform your point of view in casting your vote. Tonight provides you an opportunity to put your name to a face if you don't know the people already, hear what they have to say, and perhaps to get to know them a little bit better. We acknowledge that tonight will not provide all of the answers that the candidates, that you have put in, but we may seek. However, the candidates have a social media account, and we encourage you to either contact them directly after this meeting if you want some more information. This election is not like no other, and it's very significant, but this is the first time voting is compulsory in the state of Tasmania. With the state government putting council amalgamation on the table and already some initial views being expressed by some, this next council will have this topic and no doubt many others to deal with over the next term of council. Although we appear to have gone the pandemic behind us, we should be mindful and cognizant of the fact that when opportunities come, we should seize on those as well. Voting like other years with postal votes only, there are 9 council vacancies of which we have 12 candidates. There is 3 candidates contesting for mayor. There are 6 candidates contesting for deputy mayor. The remainder are just bidding for councillor. In order to be elected for the mayor or deputy mayor, those candidates must be elected as councillor first in their own right. So that's important. So your votes counted, please read carefully the instructions provided by the Tasmanian Electoral Commission on how to provide a valid vote, and make sure you return your voting papers by the due date. Assisting me tonight, moderating for the questions will be Rod Bramage, executive member here from the chamber. Also, we have other executives, Julie Foster, Mike Badcock and Ian McLeod on the floor with microphones to assist when it comes to question times from the floor. We've allocated 2 hours for this meeting. We also ask each candidate we'll ask each candidate in order they've listed on the Tasmanian Electoral Commission, those in alphabetical order, to provide up to 3-minute introduction summary. No questions will be taken until the candidates have all given their introduction. Once all the introductions have been completed, I'll then explain how the questions and answer sessions will work. A 30-second bell will ring to remind the candidates that they have 30 seconds to run, and a double bell will ring to remind them the 3 minutes is up. Now I'd like to quickly introduce the 11 candidates to you in alphabetical order. I'll be asked each candidate to identify themselves by standing up as I call out their names. Jared Innes, going for councillor and deputy mayor. Peter Hollister, councillor and deputy mayor. Alison Jarman, councillor and mayor. Steve Martin, Councillor and Mayor. Tammy Milne, Councillor. Alison Moore, Councillor. Lee Murphy, Councillor and Mayor. Stacey Sheehan, Councillor and Deputy Mayor. Damien Viney, Councillor and Deputy Mayor. Jolene Wilski, Councillor and Deputy Mayor. And Petra Wilden, Councillor. We are an apology for Ken Townsend, who's overseas. He's also running for Councillor and Deputy Mayor. I invite our first candidate to the podium, Jared Ennis, to give your introduction talk.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jared Ennis. I'm the councillor who was elected last term, and I'm asking you to vote one Jared Ennis for councillor and deputy mayor. I've lived in Devonport for a long time with my wife Prue and raised my family of 3 here. They all live nearby and my grandchildren attend a local public school. My background's in education and I've taught mostly within this area. These days I work part-time with the Education Union, supporting people in TAFE mostly and some Department of Education schools as well. I'm a long-term president of the Devonport Football Club, which is highly successful both on and off the field. We were once regarded poorly in the community, but we are now proudly respected for what we do both on and off the field, but within the community as well. We have approximately 250 young men and women who participate in our club. I have wonderful relationships with and connections with the Devonport Cricket Club, the Basketball Club, the Devonport Athletic Club, to name a few. I like to bike ride and participate in the local park run outside of footy season and if it's not raining. I like to keep fit. It's a sort of hangover from my competitive days of playing and coaching. This year, for the first time, the local government elections will be compulsory. I know people don't often engage with council unless they have an issue or want something. This is where I come in. I want people to feel connected to our city and be informed, feel part of the decision-making process and know that their voice is being heard. I've shown I can connect with all people, listen, simplify and represent their views with proven leadership. I'm approachable. I'm often called Smiley amongst the fellow councillors, and I had it a couple of times tonight. I make connections pretty easily. People feel comfortable to ask questions and seek guidance on council issues and ask and offer their opinions on what is happening in our city freely. I have energy and enthusiasm to progress and work and build upon our success and develop the city beyond the river precincts. I'm really keen to get an ocean pool for our city. My actions make me trustworthy. I consider all views in our community, act respectfully and make decisions to improve our city. A healthy community is something I'm passionate about. Inclusion for all members of our community is vital and we have a long way to go, but we need to keep pursuing this. I'm a regular at the art gallery and the Rand Arts Building, keeping up with our improving art scene. Congratulations to all the candidates who are seeking to serve our community, but I'm asking for your support. Thank you.
Next candidate is Peter Hollister.
I'm Peter Hollister. I've been a long-term councillor in Devonport. Some people say I'm a veteran councillor, which I am in a couple of ways. Devonport is a fantastic city and I'm passionate about its future development. The Living City project has invigorated our city from the slow growth we had 10 years ago. This is not finished yet and I support further development and to continue to energise the city to increase business and create jobs for our young people. I will encourage more state and national events to bring visitors and economic activity to our city. Raised in Devonport, I'm a Vietnam veteran, serving with the 8th Battalion in Vietnam. I'm a former mayor and deputy mayor, been a business owner and disability carer for the last 20 years. I'm a life member of Youth, Family and Community Connections and I'm currently treasurer for many years. I've chaired many boards, last at the Devonport Chamber of Commerce. No, many boards. I've served on many boards. Lastly, the Devonport City Council will have 5 new members at least. So it's going to be 5 new faces on council. So it's a steep learning curve for many new ones. I'm asking for your #1 vote for Deputy Mayor and Councillor, as I am an experienced, progressive and committed councillor. I believe I have the experience to support the city's new mayor, and I thank you for your vote.
Thank you, Peter. Now welcome Alison Jarman.
Thank you for coming along and caring about our community and for listening to us tonight. What do I see for Devonport? The Light and Sound Show, a new sports precinct, housing improvements, lack of rate increases, youth engagement, a state-run ferry service, improved waste systems including FOGO, a black box theatre and better access and inclusion. Why should I be mayor? Tonight I'm going to ask you some questions. Am I capable of speaking and engaging people at public speaking engagements or through the media representing my community and city? Am I capable to open events and respectfully attend all the AGMs, dinners and all styles of occasions expected from a leader of Devonport? Have I learned from the 11 years on council, mentored by some of my wonderful fellow councillors and colleagues, and asking the tough questions along the way? Have I been approachable, worked hard in the community, taken part in many council events, working alongside staff and those councillors who chose to show up with me? Have I earned my right from being your deputy mayor full-time for the past 4 years, acting on behalf of the mayor when required, to put my hand up for mayor for the next 4? Will I still be accountable and forthright in listening to and engaging our community before making the decisions at the council table every single meeting? Do I show enough maturity and enthusiasm to lead a new, fresh team of councillors and nurture their drive and their passions whilst working respectfully with the hard-working staff at council? I certainly believe I have and I will. If I haven't proven worthy of the job, I apologise right now. Forgive me, as I think I've passed my apprenticeship and I'm ready to take on the huge privilege of leading Devonport into the future, which, by the way, looks mighty fine. Should I be the next Mayor of Devonport? Obviously, it's time for the people to decide and vote for Alison Jarman, a fresh approach for Mayor. And thank you for voting for me in the past 3 terms so far. Cheers.
Our next candidate is Steve Martin.
Good evening all, and thank you very much for coming out this evening to hear about the candidates and the future for Devonport. As a way of introduction, my family and I have lived in Devonport for over 7 generations. Myself, all my life, on both sides of the Mersey. We have been very heavily involved in the Devonport Fire Service and its brigade, having served as a volunteer firefighter for 32 years, reaching the rank of second officer and attending over 6,000 operational calls, whether that be fire, false alarms, vehicle accidents, trauma, and unfortunately even death. In 2008, I worked to commence to attract the Australian Masters Games to the North West Coast, Tasmania, with the offer to conduct the 16th Australian Masters Games, secured in 2016, 8 years later. The fight to save the Mersey Community Hospital was also at the height of it during that time. I've worked with young people for the past 25 years, looking to inspire them and to have them look to be aspirational with their wants and needs. We founded the Solution and Enormity Youth Groups, learning about meeting procedures and the rules of a constitution. During that time, I also served for 2 years on the board of Volunteering Tasmania. My wife Suzanne and I owned 2 successful businesses, the Valley Road News Agency and the Three Amigos Mexican Restaurant. Both businesses were on-sold once I became mayor in 2011. The 2011 census was not complimentary to Devonport, with our city being recognised as Tasmania's 7th disadvantaged community. Whilst confronting of it as a new mayor, it did remind me of an old Confucius saying, if your plan is for 1 year, plant rice. If your plan is for 10 years, plant trees. If your plan is for 100 years, educate your children. In 2012, school breakfast clubs commenced along with the Mayor's Ball, now known as the Toast for Kids charity. In our 10th year this year, we've been able to raise enough funds to have provided over 150,000 meals for hungry students. The Living City project was initiated, looking to rejuvenate Devonport CBD, employ over 800 people, and also inject $112 million into the local economy. During this time, I also attended UTAS, gaining a Diploma of Business 2012-13, and completed the Bridges Out of Poverty course. Currently, I'm president of the Toast for Kids, the Tasmanian Masters Games, Mersey Community Hospital Group, and the Tasmanian branch of the Children's Book Council of Australia, serving on the National Governance Committee. I'm 9 years on council, 7 years as a past mayor. I offer you passion, persistence, knowledge and experience, and a vision, and ask you for your #1 vote, the councillor and mayor. Thank you.
Next candidate is Tammy.
Okay, so my name's Tammy Millen and I've been on council before. On a count back, thank you, Justine. And so basically I've lived in Devonport most of my life. I live now 500 metres from the hospital where I was born. I'm a widow. My husband passed away 2 years ago now. My daughter is a 4th year university student, studying law and science, and I think is a great ambassador for this city and this education system that we have to have gone on and achieved the things she's done. So I live here. I love the place. I swim both at the beach and at the pool, and those things are really important to me. So I'm on the National Board of Women with Disabilities Australia. I'm on the National Board of Physical Disabilities Australia. I'm actually on the committee for the Justice Department, so the Tasmanian State Justice Department Access and Inclusion Committee. Through COVID, I was on the COVID helpline committee as well. So I've got lots of community engagement. My core values, of course, are access and inclusion. And I'll just open this up so I can actually read to you. Okay, so my core values are truth-telling, honesty and transparency. So that's what I hold with the most esteem. Council is a community business, and so our stakeholders are the community. Secret deals are the death of democracy. I stand up to bullies. I stand up against deception, and I care deeply about our home and our future. Devonport is a beautiful place. and we have a lovely lifestyle. We need to be planting more trees though. That's one of the things I'd like to see happen. And we need to make sure that our footpaths are safe to walk on. We need to provide safe spaces for all and enjoy and acknowledge that oh gosh, I'm so nervous, sorry. And acknowledge that disability, elderly and LGBTQI plus are valued and cared for, along with all the diversity of our city. Equity is about all of us. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Alison Moore.
Hi all, my name's Alison Moore and I'm pretty excited to be here as a candidate tonight. I don't own my own business nor my own company. I work down the road at the local state high school. I have a husband and 4 teenage kids of my own. I understand my community. I have a daily connection with the full gamut of backgrounds and socioeconomic statuses within Devonport. Every day I talk to kids who have no lunch because there's simply no food in their cupboards at home. So I talk to kids about working hard in school and taking all the opportunities that are offered to them. And I want Devonport to be a place that has plenty of opportunities for apprenticeships, traineeships, skilled and unskilled jobs. So how does a council feed into that dream? Devonport needs a council that is continuously planning and supporting industry growth, tourism opportunities, and a council that's happy to be progressive and courageous and knows its people. I love Devonport. I love that a traffic jam is a 2-minute wait at the roundabout. My family moved here 8 years ago, and we found that the secret to this community is being involved in the amazing sporting and community organisations. These groups and organisations, they build our community. They have helped my kids to find their place, their passions, and their friends. These things are important to our families. As a parent with sporty kids, I travel all over the state to different competitions, and the Devonport grounds are some of the best in the state. I want to keep this up. I have 8 years experience on a governance board, 4 of those years chairing the board. I like good governance, informed, transparent decisions, tough questions, and community consultation. I believe we need a diverse council that reflects our community. I have heartfelt gratitude for the retiring mayor and the retiring councillors, for the immense time and service they have given to our city. Our council needs a mixture of councillors who are old and new, ready to learn the ropes, serve the community, and continue to build a city that people want to visit, stay, spend, and play in. A city where families find community, jobs, and recreation. I want to be part of this council.
I've just been informed that the live stream can't see the candidates, so I'll ask the remaining candidates if you could talk from your seats, if that's okay. So our next candidate is Lee Murphy.
Yeah, back to council mode. Thanks, Dave. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for being here tonight. My name is Lee Murphy, and I'm here tonight to detail to you as to why I put my hand up again for councillor and the role of mayor. As a Rotarian and member of the Rotary Club of Devonport North, we have a motto we abide by: service above self. It's a motto that drives me to seek your support for the roles that I've just mentioned. So a little about me and the ones that don't know me well. I'm 50 years of age. I'm married to Wendy and have 2 teenage boys, Jack and George. I played rugby for the Devonport Bulls Rugby Club, which seems like it was a lifetime ago. and I'm a passionate golfer and recreational fisherman. Wendy and I built and established the Harbour Master Cafe on the banks of our wonderful Mersey River back in 2015. It was during this time that I found myself interested more and more in local government and the desire to serve. So in 2018, I put my hand up. I was elected to the Devonport City Council. I do believe that council is in a far better place now than it was 4 years ago, and I'd say a sense of pride in having been involved in that and instrumental in affecting the change in the culture of the organisation, and even prouder that the Devonport City Council now is a beacon of shining light for local governments in the state. It's been exciting and challenging times are ahead though. If you asked what do I see the priorities for Devonport are, it would be these. Our residential growth strategy. The investment has been made in Living City, and we now need to attract more people to live here. We need to think outside the box of what we currently offer. We must move forward with supporting developers wanting to invest here. We need to continue to grow our economy with more residential commercial development and with a focus on inner city living. Residential and peri-urban zone offerings. This strategy is based on the most recent data, and that data highlights that Devonport is a place that people want to live, work and play. This strategy will underpin the goal of keeping council rates well below CPI and to reduce the cost of living pressures on our community, but not at the expense of services and capital expenditure. Secondly, the Sporting Precinct Master Plan is an opportunity to invest in sporting infrastructure for the right reasons and to benefit the entire community. A significant body of work has been done and extensive consultation has been undertaken with the community and our sporting clubs. With these organisations coming on board, there is opportunity to construct the necessary infrastructure for the next 30 years with a vision to increase participation across the board. It is vital that we get this right, especially with Devonport becoming a regional sporting hub. The other big ticket on local government reform. It needs to happen, it's going to happen, and Devonport must lead the conversation in it. We need to be talking to our neighbours, and we need to ensure that we bring the community along for the ride. Because as a council, it is our responsibility that we get the best result and to keep the local in local government. It's been an absolute honour to serve the Devonport community over the past 4 years in the role of councillor, and I strongly believe that I have the necessary skills and experience.
Finish it up.
Thanks, Dave. Very good.
Right. Thank you very much, Lee. Next candidate is Stacey Sheehan.
Can I stand up or do I need?
Let me stand up. Yeah, you stand up.
Well, hello everybody. My name's Stacey Sheehan and this is the first time I'm running for local government. I'll tell you a little bit about myself and my family and then a little bit about why I'm running. For any sort of techie people in the audience, I've rehashed a work website, which is staceysheehan.com.au, which has got stacks of detailed information about some of the policies and projects I'm really passionate about. So on that note, yes, I was born and raised in Devonport. My family have been here for 6 generations. I spent a bit of time away when I was 17 going to uni. Was away forever in Sydney and also in Japan studying, and sort of, I guess that time away really opened my eyes as to how great Devonport is when I came back 12 years ago now, when my son William was born. So I run the family business, which I bought from my mum, Geraldine Sheehan. My mum was on the Chamber of Commerce long before I was. But yeah, I run the family business, one agency, Collins. I rebranded it, doubled it in size, and I've got a great team behind me. Very competitive, love a challenge, and you know, I just love working in Devonport. When I had started at the agency, I wandered down to the local Chamber of Commerce with a great idea. So I realised that there weren't opportunities for mentoring for young people in businesses. I'd worked for listed property trusts in Sydney where you could tap really experienced people on the shoulder and say, hey, can we have a coffee once a month? Tell me all you know. But there wasn't that infrastructure here, and I went along to the Chamber of Commerce. I think Steve Bramage was the president at the time, and said, hey, you know, why don't we sort of try and join senior people in businesses? Chaz Kelly, for example, you know, might have a coffee with someone starting out at Halliwell's property. that sort of structure. And they said, yeah, that's a great idea. But would you join the executive and sort of roll that? Yeah, okay. So that led to 10 years on the chamber, which I absolutely and wholeheartedly enjoyed. I spent the last 2 as president. I was working about 20 hours a week in that role, and it just about killed me because we were rebranding at the same time. But that was 4 years ago, almost to the day. And the reason I've decided to run for local government is I really miss participating in that public debate about shaping the city's future. And I think I can bring some business skills to the role of council to support whoever is elected mayor, and I would be wholeheartedly happy to support the entire group of elected councillors. So that's me. Jump on the website if you'd like some more information, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Stacey. Our next candidate is Damien Viney.
Thank you very much. Hello everybody, good evening. So Damien, I grew up in Sprayton, went to local schools in Sprayton and in Devonport, and then in my 20s spent most of my time away from here. So there's been a lot of people that have been here a long time. Not everyone has spent a long time away. So I had all my 20s being pretty selfish. I studied chemistry and then left and lived and worked overseas doing a variety of jobs. My last stop before coming back to Tasmania was working with the City of Stonington as an environmental health officer, which is a health inspector. So although I don't have any experience on council, I have some experience working in a council. So I do have a little bit of insight with how the cogs work. Since moving back to Tasmania, I started working for Sprayton Fresh, which is predominantly an agricultural company, but we also went into manufacturing fresh juice. I was brought on to start the cidery, which was 10 years ago now, and that diversified the company more into agritourism and hospitality, and it's been a really interesting and worthwhile journey, and something that I haven't regretted since moving back here. I'm certainly not coming into council hot. I don't have any burning agenda or single subject or topic that I'm trying to push through. I'm more coming in with an open mind and hoping to contribute to the elected council the best I can. And that's the desire. That's why I've put my hand up, because I've got I want to represent the community on the council, and I'm also willing to work with the other elected councillors. A little bit more about me. I've got a young family. My wife Kelly, Vincent and Ruben are at home. They said they'd probably be watching. So Vincent, if you're there, mate, it's time for bed. And I wanted to mention also about the cider making, because it is something I'm proud of. 10 years ago when we Sprayton Fresh started that aspect of the business, I didn't know how to make cider. Last year we were awarded the best cider in Australia. So I've not been an elected councillor, but I can certainly put my hand up to try my best and learn. And finally, I'm hoping to add a new perspective to council and seek your vote. Thank you very much.
This candidate is Janine Wilczynski.
Thank you, Dave. Who am I and why am I standing? My name is Janine Wilczynski. I was born and raised in Devonport and have a strong family connections with the community. I am a businesswoman, a mother and a wife. I have worked with my husband in our pharmacy business for over 35 years, building a brand, and we loved serving the community. We also had a Christmas store for 14 weeks of the year, and we ran that for 15 years, which brought great joy not only to ourselves but to the community. My business ethos and guiding principles are to listen, communicate and be fair to all concerned. with an ethical and social focus. At the same time I volunteered on community organisations and committees, and one such as Devonport Commercial Promotions. This is where I chaired a board of 10 elected business people. We had one paid employee and as our executive officer. This is where we had to stretch the money, making sure that $1,000 or $10,000 you had to receive $2,000 or $20,000 worth of value. The job of DCP was highlight of Devonport commercial area to be a place to be and a place to do business. Also a great place to live. A good feel presence to it. I did this for 20 years. After that, I was on the Chamber of Commerce Executive Committee for over 8 years, and I'm still a private member of that. My knowledge and experiences and skills gained over this time has given me rich diversity and strengths and capabilities. I have always wanted Devonport to be the vibrant hub of the Northwest, or cheekily Tas. While I'm standing, my volunteering time is not just based on business organisations, sporting clubs, even taking up roles of president, treasurer or secretary. This as always adds to your coordinating and communication skills. And at one stage I was a rowing groupie, supporting my son in his sporting career, travelling Australia and over the world. I would like to further serve my community, and this is why I'm standing. I place high emphasis on and importance on good listening and communication skills from within the council and to the council, and making local government more people-friendly, consultative and transparent, for our council to lead with sound economic, cultural and environmental wellbeing for the community. Always working together achieves a greater outcome. And this is why I would like to serve the community as councillor and deputy mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. And our last remaining candidate for here tonight is Petra Wilden.
Last but not least, a bit nerve-wracking to stand here, sit here for a long time. I'm Petra Wilden. I haven't lived here long at all, so that is quite different to a lot of other people. I was born in the Netherlands, lived there for the first 25 years of my life. Got a lot of money, got a bit of money saved and went on a world trip around the world. Eventually met my husband and ended up here. Which I'm really thankful for. He's from Adelaide, so I lived there for a long time, kind of 8 years as well with him. And I guess coming here from the Netherlands, I slowly started to be amazed by the beauty of Australia and the amazing wildlife and plants that it has to offer. Europe doesn't have the variety and the uniqueness that you have here, so over the years, I guess my background is an environmental science degree from the Netherlands. And also, when we came to Tassie, I did a Masters of Teaching because it was a bit hard to find work in the environmental area. So people said, oh, why don't you become a science teacher? So I've done that for 5 years. And at the moment, I'm a lab technician, so still working in the education sector. And enjoying that at the moment. I want to be a councillor because I want to stand up, I guess, to quote the laureates, I want to stand up for the trees and a beautiful native vegetation that Tasmania has to offer. I think it's very important, especially in the city, within the city, to kind of enhance and keep what we have left. And yeah, I will stand up for that because I think we can, I want to see development not only from a good economic perspective, which is still very important, but it needs to be socially well done as well as environmentally, and we can do that. So I want to see best practice here. I like to see a lot more greening and native vegetation. I think Tassie has so much to offer, and we need to model to the people that come from all over the world, as well as from the mainland, what we have in different plants to offer here. I would like to see that a lot more, which at the same time, if we start greening it up, we will secure a place for global warming. It's a big deal at the moment. More plants will capture more carbon. It's better for our mental health as well. And yeah, we've been just going a bit too much towards economics without looking at the bigger picture. So I'm a broad thinker. I will bring up environment, social issues, and I just don't want to just look at economics, but because we can do it in a more rounded way. And yeah, I'll love to work with everyone. So my background is very scientific, and I'm happy to share that with everyone and work in a good way. Thank you.
Well, thank you, candidates. Well, you've had it now. You've got 11 different candidates with 11 different stories. So now, folks, it's your turn to have your say. This is how we've elected to run the question and answer session. So if you just bear with us, I'll explain it to you. When people registered, they had the option of putting in 2 questions. And we got a lot of questions. A lot were very similar to each other. So what we've done is we've combined those questions. And in fairness to all the candidates, we've given those questions to the candidates. So the first lot of questions you'll hear from the is what your questions are, what we've collated to give to the candidates. Then once that's happened, then we'll hand it over to the floor for you people to ask your questions. So as I said, we've reviewed all the questions, we've grouped some like questions together, and those questions who are very similar. Names related to the questions will not be revealed to the group because we've grouped the questions together. Some questions are directed particularly to candidates, while others are more generic and applicable to candidates. All candidates have received the shortlist, as I've said, and we'll go through the shortlist questions first before opening up to the floor. It should also be noted that all candidates have received the questions which I've said before. Specific candidate questions will be directed to those candidates, and some of the generic questions will either be a yes or no answer, and then we'll have a bit of a draw for half the table to take half the questions, the other half to take the other questions. In the interest of the time, questions from the floor, we'd like to have 1 question per person, and the candidates to answer the question as directly as possible. We've got about an hour and 15 to go, so we're running on time really well, which is very good. The candidates, when they answer the questions, they have no more than 2 minutes. All right. So let's go through the first candidates, and the first questions are directed to the 3 candidates that are running for mayor. So the first question is to Steve Martin, and the question reads, Steve, considering your last tenure of mayor, when you showed lack of fiscal responsibility and failure of due diligence, costing the ratepayers hundreds of thousands of dollars regarding the lease agreements for Providence Place, where a solid and binding lease was required before construction commenced, the then General Manager Ian McCallum resigned because of this. Over to you, Steve.
Thanks very much, Dave. Well, firstly, it wasn't Ian McCallum who resigned in regards to the city. It was General Manager Paul West. He fell on his sword and took responsibility for what was occurring with Living City at that time. It was very difficult and it wasn't easy moving forward, but we should move forward. If we have a look at the marketplace now as we know it, we've got Firestorm, we've got Frankie J's, Iron State Brewery, Southern Wild Distillery, and TAFE upstairs teaching young people about bakery, etc. Events in the main hall include markets, includes band nights. We've even had our Toaster Kids charity gala there, raising funds for school breakfast clubs and books for babies. So that place now is a hive of activity. So the decision to have such a place was correct. Well, I admit that it's bumpy along the way, but we've got there and we're moving forward, and I suggest and hope that we as a city and a council look forward instead of backwards. Thank you.
team there between Dave and myself. Next one's for Lee, and 2 minutes Lee to Jen this morning. So Lee Murphy, the position of mayor requires numerous qualities and a high level of skill to meet the expectations of the community. What qualities and experience do you bring to the table to fulfil this important role?
Thanks, Rod. And I thank the author for the question. Skills and experience, you can get those over a lifetime. But I think my working life, I've dedicated myself to helping others and ensuring that from a professional level, that I work to the utmost of my abilities in doing so. I was the Human Resource Advisor for the North West Regional Hospital, so I have a bit of a HR background as well. So understanding corporate governance in that role was very important, which led to my interest in local government. As we've had some of the other candidates speak about governance, it is the primary driver of local government. Without having good governance, the system will fall down. And if we have that happen, the community is in disarray. I believe I'm a very good communicator. Like other candidates, I'm approachable. I'm easy to talk to. But more importantly, I think it's the ability to listen. I think that's the most important thing in this particular role, and probably one of the best skills from being able to listen, not only to the community, but to my fellow councillors. I'm not frightened of coming backwards neither. If there's something to be said, it'll be said. I think for a lot of what I've learnt in many years in business, and put me in good stead from a leadership perspective, having undertaken various Leadership Management Australia courses in team leadership, has provided me with the necessary skills to be able to take this role on. And I'm young enough to do it. I'm here for the long haul. So I don't necessarily think that's a skill or a quality, but it's certainly a benefit. So hopefully that'll be enough there to see the support within the community to vote one for me.
Next question is to Alison Jarman, and the question from the poll is to Alison Jarman. Now that your Living City development is well underway, knowing you weren't in favour of it, has your opinion changed? How can we be assured that you're interested in moving the city forward to entice more people and business rather than keeping this Devonport stagnant?
Thank you. Thanks to the author, whoever put that question up, because it does me a favour, really. Just a bit of clarity, I suppose. I've never been against Living City. I've been involved right from the CNEX days when I worked down there with the Waterfront Plaza development that was going to happen. I've been behind it from the beginning. You can ask Katrine anytime. And when we were involved at council level, I have always been enthusiastic about the project itself, but I was against the debt. I still don't agree with the debt. The debt was for council to take on board because we got 10 million from the feds, 10 million from state, and we had to cover the rest. But when it was first put to us at council, and I have councillors or ex-councillors in this room that know, it was put to us that it was going to be private investment. Yeah. So it was a surprise to me when that came to us at the end, once we got the money from the feds, that all of a sudden council was going to go into a huge debt, to the point where we had to beg and plead to get our cap raised. Everything had to happen for us to get that money. Now, I understand that money has then created this wonderful precinct that we have down here, don't get me wrong, but it should have been private investment. So the best part is I am behind this. I will do everything to promote what we've got and improve on it, but I will also be watching every single dollar, because we've still got that debt and that still hangs over us like a black cloud, and a lot of ratepayers are very nervous. And it also mitigates our potential to do this amalgamation style, because a lot of other councils around us that surround our boundary don't want anything to do with our debt. So it keeps coming back and rears its ugly head. So I will watch that with every ounce of my being, because at the moment, so far so good, our council staff have done an incredible job to make sure that we are fiscally responsible. And I will watch that all the time. Now, will I be doing my utmost? Do I want Devonport to be stagnant? The last part of the question's a little bit strange, because I certainly don't want it to be. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. This is all going to be pretty rapid fire. So this next question is to the three mayoral candidates, and you've got a minute each, so it's going to be quick. And the question is, why are you best placed to be a team leader of what is effectively the board of directors? Hang on. Can I be the first one?
Ladies first.
Ladies first.
Thank you, Mike. Why am I going to be a different mayor? I think I'm going to be a great mayor. I want to lead a new team. It's going to be exciting. I mean, I'm going to miss the wonderful expertise of councillors that were with us and that have chosen to retire, and I thank them for everything they've done. But we've got a new start. This is exciting, and I want to nurture every single one of those councillors. I want to make sure that they have a say, as long as it's for the community and not for a party policy and not for their own agenda for where they want to go. I want them to understand how to look at our community and talk to our community and be open and transparent as much as possible. And I will make sure that they all have a voice. If they've got an idea and they want to run with it and the community's behind them, I'll say, go for it, it's your baby. I'll make sure that they have that chance. I want to make sure every one of them is value for dollar, value for the vote. And I want to make sure that they know that they're valued. Thank you.
Qualifications for standing for mayor is about life experiences. It's about being part of your community, and I have been here all my life and been part of my community all my life, whether in various roles as a volunteer firefighter or serving on various committees at presidential or other office side of things. I'm a great believer in communicating and conducted in the President's Breakfast, which happens every 2 months. I invite people from the community to come along and to network and exchange ideas and to talk about what's best for Devonport. I have great experience in regards to being mayor, being on a numerous amount of committees, chairing them and working with members of the community, the state government, the federal government. I'm very proud of my record as the mayor for 7 years of Devonport, the Living City project moving forward, actually attracting private investments with Royce Fairbrother, and as we know, the Notel building out there. I was fortunate enough to also score $10 million from the federal government as well, the public government space.
Good to go. Consultative, focused, professional, accountable. They would be the big things that you would need in a leader in relation to leading council. I think if you've got those qualities and the ability to listen to your fellow councillors and engage them to understand governance, which again, as I stated earlier, is extremely important, especially if you're looking at it from a corporate perspective. The corporate governance rules, the processes and the policies that drive local government. And that would be my qualities or the reasons why I would be best placed for that particular position.
The next question we've got, we're going to ask every candidate to spend no more than 1 minute on the 3 top challenges they see for the Devonport region. So I'll just start at this end and we'll pass the microphone down. 3 top challenges.
Firstly, will be affordable housing for the community here. We've got a lack of affordable housing in Devonport. I think the biggest thing we've got to watch is the waste levy that's started now. It's only very low at the moment, but on the mainland it's probably $140 a tonne. So we don't want the same situation as we've had with Taswater. We all know what that's done, so have to watch that for sure. And the third one, keep the city going.
Thank you, Peter. I think our education and having our children work ready, so we've got to ensure our education and is ready for further investment in our city, because the youth is our future. The economy, a viable retail and commercial sector, and the environment with our natural resources, with Don Reserve and our other reserves. So a general across the board what we need to keep our eye on. Thank you.
Devonport, like most regions, has a shortage of housing, skilled labour and doctors and so on, but these issues are not unique to Devonport. I think for Devonport specifically, our challenge is how do we compete for investment capital against the south and the north. We don't have those big pieces of infrastructure like a big airport, a big university, or a big hospital. And these are important if we're to attract skilled professionals into the area, retain our talent and build our commercial industrial centres. I think there's a huge opportunity to link a tertiary institution with our agricultural sector in Devonport. And we must see the delivery of the airport master plan, which will bring much needed industrial land into the mix. I'm probably on my minute, but I think the second challenge is more of an opportunity. We haven't developed as much as Hobart and Launceston with all that gridlock and congestion. Let's try and get that right before it goes pear-shaped. And thirdly, having the confidence to keep going with Living City. Sorry.
Thanks very much. So my three challenges, I believe. I think there's going to be a bit of repetition down the table, but there's going to be a lot of local government reform over the next 4-year cycle, whether that's the changes to the planning authority or the talk around amalgamations and the obvious changes and challenges that that's going to make. I think housing is super important, it's been mentioned. How we work on property development and the associated infrastructure, roads and services that are going to be required for those developments, including accessibility and how we're going to look after it. We want this growth, we want an increase in population, how are we going to look after them? And finally, I think we need to capitalise on what is obviously going to be an increase in tourist numbers and tourism traffic in our region. We've got 2 new boats on the way, we've got a new hotel being built, there's new agritourism businesses popping up every 6 months. So
Okay, the 3 challenges. Residential growth. Devonport is confined. It currently has somewhere between 3 to 4 years worth of residential land supply available, well outside the expectation of the Tasmanian Planning Commission. The next biggest one will be local government reform. If we don't have a very strong voice in this, potentially you will see regional authorities, which will have a massive impact on local government and the services it can deliver. So we must be leaders in that conversation. And the second one is going to be infrastructure spend on the other side of the river. We need to commit to ensuring that East Devonport, we've had a significant infrastructure spend on the western side of the river. And I think the movement towards the airport and looking at creating that, vibrant hub in that particular space from an industrial perspective, which will bring employment with it.
The top 3 challenges I see for Devonport are managing the tension between the growth of the city and looking after the people who are already living here. Becoming a city with a point of difference, so we're not just a place that you get on and off the boat, and the housing and rental shortage.
What's next? We should not stop at Living City, we should be looking at what is next. Next opportunity to provide a quality of life for our residents and the next industry that we can utilise the strengths that we are building right now today. And we shouldn't stop at that, we should be looking at what's next. We should be lifting the education and the health of our citizens and in turn create a healthy workforce that will attract business and professionals, skilled professionals such as doctors, nurses, which we're crying out for. We need to have a concerted effort for that. If we've got a healthy workforce, it will attract industry and it will increase our economic import and output in the area. Getting the Mersey ferry service going again, so I can link up with the new hotel, the Key Link, the two Spirits, 4 and 5, as well as proposed redevelopment of the Mersey Yacht Club. And hopefully when the Don River Railway comes into the CBD, we'll have a package there that will attract tourism.
Well, so the question was the top three challenges for the Devonport region. Simply, we all know it's the cost of living, it's lack of affordable housing, and we have a lack of skilled workers being encouraged to come here because there's a lack of housing for them. And how to fix that? It's not a simple and easy answer, but we must work very well with our local councils. We need to work with our state government, and we need to work with the federal government as well to enable the people here to just get it a little bit easier, because they're struggling. There's a lot of people that vote normally. The people the compulsory voting is going to change this. The people that normally don't vote are the people that are really, really doing it hard at the moment. And we've just got to keep them in mind every time we make big decisions here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's simple as well. Housing, big problem. And we need to be inclusive. We need to look after people that are less well off. Kind of maybe more high density housing. Like I like to see more denser housing, so you have more space for communal areas as well. So you kind of look after the mental health as well. Climate change, it is happening here and now in our community, so we really need to be, as a council, we need to be a role model and show everyone how you can be become more, have a lower carbon footprint, and they do need to do that with projects, community projects, and greening the city, very, very important as well. And I would like to see more facilities for women in crisis, children from violent homes. That's another big one.
Thank you.
Thank you. I tend to think a bit bigger than just the city, but our region, and completing the coastal pathway is a really key project, and we can show some real leadership at Devonport City Council to make sure that that happens, and supporting our other councils along the way to make sure it happens. Climate change, particularly coastal erosion, is a big issue for our area. And I think we need to create strategic plans for health, transport and housing. And I know people have touched on those, but strategic planning is something I'm really into. And I think we need to think about it and lead the way. Devonport is well placed to do that. We are well looked at. And finally, the last thing I'd say would a way to bring GPs and keep them in our area, just all around our region. We need it. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I've got more than three, but I'll just keep it down to three. So I think the big overarching statement that I want to make is inclusion. So we've got an ageing population now, and we've got a diverse population. So we need to bring everybody together. So if that means one of the issues is that with an ageing population, our housing is not accessible. So as you get older, the home you might have lived in for 40 years isn't that accessible for you, and that creates a problem. So those homes need to be, we need to be thinking about building now more accessibly, so that in the future we're future-proofing our homes for our whole life, not just that time of our life when we're able-bodied. Because, surprise, everybody's going to be older and disabled at some time in their life. Another thing is poverty. We can't forget.
I want to catch you off, Tammy. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
There's a bit of pressure up the front here. I'm here, not over there. A few lots. This one's a pretty straightforward question, and it comes through more than once in the questions we've got. So this is a yes or no. I'm going to ask you a question. Put your hand up. So are you using the council as a stepping stone for political reasons? And that's a yes. That's a no. That's a no.
Easy one. The next, we've got two parts of this question. I'll give you the first part first. We're going to ask the non-mayor candidates. So there's 8 non-mayor candidates. We're going to ask them the same question. So we've got random names here. So 4 random names. We'll get the same question. And these candidates have 2 minutes. First candidate is Alison Moore, and the question is, what can council do to make sure this is a viable retail precinct in the city?
It's hilarious, that's the question I didn't want. I can only come from a place of honesty, which is we need to do something. At the moment, Devonport is not somewhere where lots of people go to shop. Our online spending has become more. We need to create and support our retailers so that they can actually obviously have a very flourishing business, but that they can contribute to what is the mall down there or the fourways or the other shopping precincts. They can be gathering places for people. Shops are not just shops. Shops should be services, a gathering place, a place to go and have coffee and then shop. So my honest opinion is I need to go to talk to the retailers. I'm not a retailer myself. I think consultation with the retailers is how I would answer this question.
Thank you. Next one is Damien Brodie.
Thank you. Interestingly, I've got some experience in this in an abstract sort of way, if you'll bear with me. A few years ago at the cidery, we realised that people just weren't staying. They were coming, they might have a tasting, stay for 10 minutes, and then they'd leave. And we thought, hang on, we need these people to stay longer, enjoy themselves more, and hopefully spend some more money. And by having people stay longer, our car park was fuller. And by having a fuller car park, it seemed like more people would want to stop in because, hang on, there's something happening here. So the changes that we made was to make it more comfortable, to make it more accessible, to make it more inviting. And I think if you look around the city at some of the shopping precincts, perhaps there's some room for improvement in those areas. If I'm a shopper, I want to make it as I'm going to go wherever it's easiest for me to do my shopping. So whatever changes that is, if it's parking, if it's making it more accessible or more comfortable, I think they're the changes to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate is Peter Hollister.
To make viable shopping precinct, I think we need to do what we've actually been doing, and that's keeping the shops that are in fourways, the CBD and East Devonport are not allowed up into the homemaker centre. Basically, the key to it. Shops that, small shops that are in town here, not be able to go up. Have the savings going.
And the last one is Janine Koziski.
Well, I'll go back to a previous comment I made on my introduction, is making the place be a feel-good precinct or area. Your areas that you need to include the public into your retail area, and by engaging with the retailers, council, maybe supporting an executive officer that can facilitate anything that a retailer is, because when they're in their 4 walls, they're looking at their 4 walls. So if they need some help with whatever it is there someone there that can help them and give them guidance? But making the city and their shopping precincts a good fill area. And that may sound fanciful, but if you put on good food, good coffee, good music, small events, or just including the community into your precincts, then that gives you a better retail outlet and commercial outlet. If you've got a good, strong commercial area, you've got a good council, they get more rates, you've got employment, and it's a win-win situation for everyone. So really, I think communicating with the retailers or the commercial area and trying to make it a good place for the community to be a part of. That's my comment.
I get the easy ones, I get the yes, no's. So this is to all candidates. And the question is, do you think the mall should be opened up to traffic? Put your hand up if that's a yes. Put your hand up if that's a no.
More totem poles.
What was the thanks everyone.
The next remaining 4 non-mayoral candidates, the question is, what are you bringing to council to support the community wellbeing and the wellbeing of the natural environment? First candidate is Petra Gordon.
Oh, good question. Yeah, but
2 minutes, by the way, 2 minutes you got.
I'm sorry. I like to see places, as I said before, I like them greened up. I like more benches. I like communities, groups being able to come together in areas where they can do things beyond themselves and plant trees. And sorry, but what was it? Would you mind repeating the question?
Can do. What are you bringing to the council to support the community wellbeing and the wellbeing of the natural environment?
Yeah, so community wellbeing, I would love to try and get more housing for women's shelters and children's shelters. Mental health, healthcare is not very good either here, but we really need to work on that. So yeah, I would be a strong advocate to try and get money and places, more places to be able to help the community with those issues.
Thank you. Next candidate is Tammy Milne.
So what I bring to council would be diversity. I've become the embodiment of diversity. I understand what it's like to be from a marginalised background. I understand what it's like to live in poverty. So when you collect all those things together, I guess I understand that Devonport is an ageing population, of a lot of people that are on Centrelink, and so we need to be bringing programs through council that help alleviate that. The second thing is the environmental question, which is, look, I'm a strong believer in, again, greening. So lots of trees, lots of seating under trees, because, you know, if you walk a little bit, you like to sit down, walk a little bit, you like to sit down. Also the dog park. So the inclusion of dog parks in our city has been absolutely fantastic. Just improving accessibility up there would be a great place for people to meet. And some trees in there for not just people, but for dogs as well. I guess I like the idea of spontaneous community gardening. So giving the community the opportunity to build a garden wherever possible. You can garden in your front nature strip now, but I'd like to push that out further. So we could see crops of carrots and veggies growing everywhere, because it's not only going to improve our greeniness of our city, but also it's an educational tool. If someone can see that you can grow a plot of tomatoes on the banks of the Mersey River, they might take that idea home and go, I'm going to grow those on back on too.
Thanks, Danny. next candidate is Jared Innes.
Thank you. I think that if we're talking about supporting community wellbeing, and that's what I'm mainly going to focus on. I've been involved in the sporting infrastructure, and it's really important that we get things right in that area. The sporting infrastructure is vital to families and to give people the opportunity to go and get involved. No one likes to go to crappy old facilities. If we can have good stuff here for our people and our youth, and particularly that will encourage a good health outcome for everyone. It's connection for people as well, and that's for social and emotional and mental health is really important. I'd also say that I've been involved with a group that is focusing on improving the health of our youth in our city, and that's not a short-term project, that's a long-term project. So the university, working with the university to create that is a really good thing. They are going to come through, we want them to come through healthier than what we are now, and so that that'll make our city a hell of a lot better. One of the things I'm getting an ocean pool around that Bluff Sporting Precinct is a really key thing to also, one, create a point of difference to any other place in Tassie, and I'm sure it'll be a huge winner for the people here to go and swim. I know I like to swim in the ocean. I'm a little scared about swimming around. In a pool, I feel a bit safer, so it'll be awesome. Non-competitive and passive recreation is a really important area too, like places where people can walk and run and skate and use their skateboards, etc.
Thanks, Jared. And last but not least is Stacey Sheen.
Okay, so, sorry, how's that? One of the ideas that I've been kicking around for a while, I've been doing yoga ever since I got back from Sydney for about 10 years with a bunch of people, and they've stayed the same group, but the spot's always moved around because it's one of those places where they need really cheap rent. Anyway, to cut a long story short, what I would like to, my contribution to community wellness would be to explore funding for a community wellness centre which would prevent or delay serious illness by shining a spotlight on health. It could house things like yoga, chiropractic, naturopathy, functional medicine. It's an idea that some of the people practicing in that space think would actually provide better health outcomes for the people of Devonport. I also have always thought community wellbeing should flow through to the design criteria for local government. You often see people standing at a bus stop and it's really drab and they're standing there and, why don't we use parts of our civic infrastructure to educate or uplift, like we live in a built environment that can really have a positive impact, including trees, on the people that really inhabit the space. Also, I'd just like to say in relation to the natural environment, when I was on the Cradle Coast Authority Regional Economic Development Group, which I'm still on, I lobbied really hard for the Dalton Waste facility to get funding, which I believe that it did, it's a compost facility for our organic waste. I'd strongly support the FOGO bins and a recycling service for commercial premises. And also lobbied hard for the trees along Old Acre Street and Best Street to provide that much needed canopy. Unfortunately, my office missed out. Didn't even get a pot plant, but I tried. Thank you.
Stacey, shame about the pot plant.
Yes.
So another yes/no question. So many other municipalities offer free tip tickets as well as FOGO, so in other words, food organics and garden organics bins. Is this something that you agree with implementing? So do you agree? Sorry,
Two questions that are inaccurate.
Just reading the question as was proposed. So do you want me to split it, Alison?
Yes, please.
So how do you want me to split it?
Thank you. Well,
it's asking about free tip tickets and it's asking about
Okay.
FOGO.
All right. Yep, happy. So do you believe in free tip tickets? Yes, hand up.
I do.
We
No.
can't see, like if they've put things higher.
Hand up high.
Okay.
Who's the yeses? These are yeses for tip tickets. There's a yes for tip tickets.
Unbelievable.
Right, hand up for no for tip tickets.
Unbelievable.
I think people need to understand that the municipalities that provide those free tip tickets, it's actually incorporated in their rates. So for example, Devonport to Latrobe, the Devonport City Council invoices the Latrobe municipality.
Might have to stop you also.
You just need to get clarification around so people understand the question.
So,
No free lunch.
next part of the question is FOGO. So do you put your hand up if it's a yes, if you think we should agree, it should have FOGO bins?
That's pretty much it.
Doing most bins. So, so you've got note of that? Put your hand up if that's a no, so that one's pretty clear. Right, last question, same thing, this is yes or no. How many of the candidates would vote for a change of date for Australia Day ceremonies? How many of the candidates actively plan to do this if elected to council? I'm guessing there's two questions there as well, so. Okay, so first question is, how many would you vote for a change of date for Australia? Hand up for yes. Audience happy with that? Hand up for no.
So therefore it's going to happen after the next council meeting.
Next part of the question, how many of the candidates actively plan to do this if elected to council? Hand up for yes. Audience got those? Hand up for no. Thanks everyone. That's the end of the question session. We've done well on time, so we'll vote. Well done, thanks candidates, and thanks people putting those questions in. So now we've opened up to the floor. So what I'd like to do is ask one question per person. Make the question very topic specific, please don't be personal. And if the candidates could take no more than 2 minutes, please, to answer the question. So here's first one, Mike.
Doug Janney talked about free tip tickets. That's would be part of your rates. Rates do not have GST attached. You go out and have to pay the GST on that. Think about that, all of you. Thank you.
Any questions? Any, Mike? Down front. Leave your name, please. Meant to say before, name and then question.
My name's Dave Renaudin. I did have a couple of questions, but as I can only have one, I'd like to address it to Councillor Lee Murphy. Councillor Murphy, as Mayor, you need to wear a coat of many colours, but what would be your primary focus if you were elected Mayor?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Renaudin. Primary focus, bringing a new council together and bringing people up to speed in relation to the direction of the things and understanding that things are already in play. So the big thing that is going to occur here is going to be local government reform. And I think that needs to be the primary focus because, as I've said earlier, it is going to be vital that Devonport leads the conversation within our region and to ensure that we keep the local and local government. Because I am duly cautious that the state government's agenda is to see regional boards for planning, for environmental services, for waste management, And then if we're going to look at that particular model, i.e. Taswater, that is frightening. So it will also remove the capacity, the financial capacity of council to do its core business. So I think that would need to be the primary focus from my perspective in bringing fellow councillors up to speed on a particular issue.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. In the back.
Sylvia Sayers from Devonport. A simple yes or no, hands up or down. Who believes that we should do everything we possibly can as a community and as a council to keep the little ferry across the Mersey? Yes. Woohoo! Thank you.
Bob Bellicott, 11 Copper Place. The Devonport Council has continually maintained that ratepayers have no right to know the details of leases of their properties, that the tenants will be conducting businesses in direct competition to existing private enterprises. To all those aspiring to represent us, will you commit to less secret deals and have more openness and transparency, and except on rare occasions, and I mean very, very rare occasions, ensure all council contracts and details of payments to consultants and others for services rendered are available for public scrutiny? In other words, please let's have some real honesty, openness and transparency in the future. That's where we all got into, you all got into strife over there at Providore Place with the debt and everything else. Thank you.
Question, what do you want?
What's the question, Bob?
I'm asking you, will you commit to more openness and transparency and less secret deals? Thank you.
Show of hands, Ryan.
Very slow. Very slow. Yeah, very slow. Caught us out, didn't I?
Any other questions? Down the front.
Terry Travers, I've got a question for all the candidates, bar one, who's already answered the question indirectly. Do you support the council being involved in the proposed maritime precinct in East Devonport, the public accessible, and it's got green in it, maritime precinct between Reg Hope Park and the TT line development? Do you support council being involved in that?
That's a yes or no.
Yes or no. Yeah, yes or no. Sorry.
Do you want to explain that a little bit more to people that don't know?
Of the proposal?
Yeah,
okay, so the proposal is I guess a merger between proposal for redevelopment of the yacht club land for public use, and the fishermen proposed to build a wharf with publicly accessible fishing in the area north of the yacht club and to where the TT line new development will go. So basically across the whole area at that end of East Devonport, it will be redeveloped for public access and not look like it's built by the Soviets in the 70s.
We have a show of hands. Do you support that?
Can I ask a question?
Okay. Yes.
Can I ask a question? Is the yacht club then selling their opportunity of their land to the council? Is that what you mean?
The council, the yacht club has a lease on the land for about another 45 years, and the yacht club is proposing that instead of building a fence and saying stay out, that the public who currently walk their dogs, their kids, their bicycles and all those other paraphernalia through the area, be able to do it in an area that is developed in a way that's more open and green and safe for people to use. And so this lease land, the yacht club's quite prepared for the public to use it, and some of the area we redeveloped for building and tourist parking in it. I can show you the proposed plans if you want to send me an email.
And were you wanting funding for that just recently?
I put a proposal to, I showed the proposal to the council, There was no request for any dollar amounts. Developing that land will require 3 tiers of government to be involved. If you've got the council Red Toe Park to the south, and that extends the green area through into the yacht club area, and if you've got visitor parking for caravans coming off the Spirit at the northern end to visit a tourist information centre at a redeveloped building, then I think the council has some desire to be involved in something like that.
Okay. I think it was a yes to everybody there. Yep. Anyone else with questions? Yeah. Anyone else with questions first? Who has an extra question?
Thank you. Steve Pachetti. In order to support the Brook Street traders down there, I was just wondering if any of the candidates are looking at the idea of maybe having 2 hours free parking in the town centre to support the CBD. Sure.
Just so you know, I've done 3 hour free parking before and got the motion up, which was wonderful, supported by the council.
Yep.
I've had free parking before over the 11 years I've been on. I know it's not a simple thing to be able to do.
Sure.
The problem being is the revenue that we do get from that. If we don't have that revenue, it's the worst thing in the world. Where does it come from? If we lose that revenue, we can't put it back onto the ratepayers. We've got to be very careful of that fine balance of how that works.
But surely the revenue would increase from the actual businesses themselves. If they're going well, you'll get more rate.
But there is a balanced budget, and if that revenue is not there,
sure,
we've got to be very careful. It costs money to give free parking.
I understand.
Thank you.
Yeah, Steve wants to answer.
Thank you. Over the years, council has debated on free parking in the CBD area, and it's been trialled probably to death, to be quite honest. We're quite aware that public want to park there and be able to have that easy access. But what was found was that our next door neighbour from my shop, their staff will be parking in front of my shop, or they'll be taking up all the prime positions in the CBD. So what happened? What happened then was of no benefit whatsoever. In fact, it just clogged up our CBD. So the shoppers that wanted to come in couldn't because the staff were parking in the prime positions. And that was one of the biggest problems that we had, and we couldn't move forward with that.
You've got the car park now, so I suppose people could use the car park if it was 2 hours free there.
Anyone else want to respond to that question?
Yeah, thank you.
The name is first.
I agree with Steve, because in our time with the Commercial Promotions Group, we've often tried to do free parking, and sadly our staff always filled it up. So they always knew when it was a free day and they filled it up. So it wasn't a good outcome for the retailers. I think we need to rethink how we do that, but I agree with Steve, it has been tried many times.
Well, who's next then, Stacey?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. I think a lot of it's changed in perspective of the fact that Devonport's becoming a smarter city. The introduction of Easy Park and the data that we're collecting from the usage of that, people are now more inclined to park in the CBD because they don't have to worry about fumbling around for change for a parking meter. They can pull out their app. They can determine how long or how much they want to spend. So, what you'll see with the strategy in relation to what's being developed at the moment and the policy around that, you'll see that increase. So there will be probably even a greater uptake in relation to people using technology to address the issue of parking, especially paid parking. So, yeah, I agree with the previous two speakers in relation to that it's been done before, and unfortunately it hasn't.
Thanks, Lee. Stacey?
Sadly, I'm on the same page. However, I think what you're saying is that we need more retail activity, more support from retail. And
yeah, that's right.
I completely agree. Both Janine and I have chaired the retail subcommittee for the Devonport Chamber of Commerce. When I was in the chair, we worked very closely with council, wanting them to help with city promotions and marketing. And one of the ideas that came out of that, which is now visit devonport.com.au, I think is something that's a bit underutilised. For example, it doesn't even have that you can book at Novotel in December. But that's a digital space that could be capturing traffic from the airports, the seaports, working that a little bit harder, and obviously combine that with sort of bricks and mortar events and promotions. I feel your pain. I know people work very hard.
Well, I know, I don't have a business in Brook Street, but I've walked through there occasionally, and I feel real bad for the retailers in Brook Street, because they're competing against Latrobe and Ulverston, and competing against the outer areas of Devonport.
I ran commercial
Can you speak into the mic, please?
Meeting. Sorry, so sorry. In preparation for the meeting tonight, I knew shopping would come up, and I rang, there's only 2 people that do commercial leasing in Devonport, and I rang one of them, and I said, what's the condition of retail? I said, look, rents have never been higher. Leases are all getting renewed, options are getting exercised. So, yes, of course we can do more, but the condition of retail at the moment in Devonport is quite strong, and there's data, measurable data to support that.
Yeah.
Peter was next, you want to say anything?
Just that basically people don't like to walk, they want to park right outside the door.
Yeah.
Thank you. Quality shopping experiences and good shops attract people, not free parking. I look at my credit card statement regularly, and I get lots of, my wife's got that Easy Park, and you see it all the time. Just click, 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 she's, 35 cents, 80 cents or whatever, because that's what she does, in and out, goes shopping, goes what she wants. Makes life a hell of a lot easier, and great shops, and I do know, and people say, oh, there's no one in the mall. They must go at the wrong time, because I'm down there regularly and see all sorts of people, and it's a great space, and it can be even better, and I'm hoping next time the council gets together with the new council, that we really address that area and make it the envy of our area. It can be, with good planning.
One more response from the table before we take another question.
Sorry, just with the Easy Park, Devonport Council was the first council in the state with Easy Park, and we lost the opportunity to tell everyone that it was so easy to use, very cheap. You can get in and out of your shop if you want to for 20 cents, not your dollar you try and find in your pocket, or you can be there for, it depends on the parking, you can be there for your 3 hours or your 1 hour. Easy Park was a missed opportunity by the council to actually let the community know about it. I think that's something that really should be one of our agendas, if I would actually put forward.
Thank you. 4 questions from the floor.
Thank you for all of you putting your hand up. I've sat on that side a number of times, and I know it's not an easy thing. And it's so pleasing to see some new candidates and new faces. So thank you for giving us a choice this election. My question is to Lee. Sorry. Oh, sorry. I'm Justine Kay from Ambleside. My question's for Lee as mayoral candidate. Will you be still operating as a real estate agent as mayor? And if so, in the position of mayor, you'll be given, I guess, the privileged position of having developers come to you. How will you assure us as ratepayers that you will not use that information to your professional advantage, which could be seen as a bit of a pecuniary interest and a concern to potentially other people in your profession?
Yeah, good question. Thank you for it. At the end of the day, I'm putting my hand up for a fairly serious position, which I will take seriously. From a perspective of whether I remain in the real estate industry or not, there are still policies and processes in place to be able to manage pecuniary interest or perceived pecuniary interest or perceived conflicts of interest. As I sit currently on council at the moment in planning authority matters, it makes no difference now whether I'm a mayor or whether I'm a councillor. I'm still in the same position. And I don't think there's been any issue in the last 3 years that I've been in real estate where there has been a problem or whether I have taken advantage. I think if you go back and you look at council minutes, you'll see the amount of times that I have declared conflicts of interest. And again, having that corporate governance training and understanding how conflicts of interest were, and being able to declare those at the appropriate times, and either stay in the room or not stay in the room. And as recent as the last council meeting, I declared a conflict of interest for one, I stayed in the room. I declared a conflict of interest for the other, and I left the room. It's about managing those things and doing it professionally. It's very simple.
Thanks, Lynn.
Erin Benson from Devonport. As a mother of a young child, the last 2 years has been very difficult for everyone in terms of COVID and things that we've been able to do. Does the new incoming council plan to have more community activities that would then enable people to utilise the facilities that are now available, part of the Living City, the new hotel opening up, to get community out there? It will help mental health. So I guess just getting an idea of what the forward planning is for those community activities that we unfortunately haven't been able to have in recent years.
Anyone from council? Please present it first. Engineer.
Thanks for your question. I think it's been very much a hot topic for the current council, and looking at the staff in the event space. We're looking at the Maritime Centre, for example, and reinvigorating that space. We've now got a new curator of that particular facility. Looking at this particular space out here in Market Square, the events that the events team are actually going through. But more importantly, it's about being the council being in a fiscal position to be able to fund those. And I think that's something that we've been very good at, and understanding that those things do come at a cost. But it also, the value that we get from that by having our members of our community participate in those events, I think we've been a fairly good leader in relation to providing those opportunities for our community members. And I think with the introduction of the waterfront precinct to come online in the next couple of months, it's going to be a fantastic opportunity for people to get involved in the community and for the council to provide that opportunity for more events in those particular spaces.
Thank you. Tammy?
I think the role of council is to catalogue all the activities that are around in our city and make sure that they're available to the general public. We don't know what we don't know. And so having that central database of activities we can go would be one way that we can get our parents and young mums more involved. So if we've got a list of the playgroups or the next nursing mothers meeting, or even to have those things on a notice board or in an email, this is what's happening in our city, a newsletter. You know, the Devonport City Council newsletter could be emailed out to ratepayers or to, again, promote those things on the Facebook page, you know. Yeah, that would be a way. Council can facilitate the communication while possibly not pouring heaps of money in yet.
Back on the community events, there was a very small 0.5% rate put on commercial areas for the Devonport commercial promotions, whether that should be looked at again to be able to fund more community events, because it does cost money, and you do have to spend money to make money and to make it good for our community. So yes, I think we should definitely do more community events, but we need to be able to fund it and do it well, not just ad hoc one-off events. It should be a rolling event situation for the community. We've got some lovely parks, and we can even do more with what we've got. So whether we consider that in the new council by doing a small 0.5% on commercial areas rates, I don't know. I know that's not a good feeling, but you do need money somewhere to develop community events.
Yeah.
Yeah, just very briefly, as a parent with young children as well, I find Devonport's fantastic with the parks that we have available. Very excited about the long swing, we call it, down near the pool. We go past the new foreshore regularly and the kids are pumped for that. One thing that we went to probably only 6 months ago was on the Don Heads. And I know Jared mentioned the extension of the coastal pathway. I'd be a massive advocate for that because it is underutilised. It's what we call our small adventure. It's so close to the city, and it could really be benefited by throwing some money at it.
Good.
Thank you. Yeah, put up your hand if you've ever been to the park in Launceston and been on that little train or taken your kids or your grandkids. Okay? Yeah, most of us. Now, there's an opportunity here, and I did raise it last time, but it sort of didn't quite get up. But this is a family thing, and I sort of called it a tourist train, and it would run from the Bluff or even Coles Beach all the way around, but not really aimed at tourists. So tourists would use it, but people in the community would use it. It would be just an awesome experience for families and kids and people who can't walk along the Hollywood area, along the foreshore, round to the Bluff where it's beautiful. That's one part. People could go on the train and drop off at the and have a cup of coffee at the Bass Strait Maritime Centre there and right down into the city centre. Those sorts of things would be awesome. Yeah, and over the river and go up down there. It can go everywhere. I just think it'd be awesome. And I reckon with the opening of the hotel that these things will then take on a bit more of a life. And people say, oh yes, there's a lot more people around, but it's not only the benefit for the people coming into the city, but the people who live in the city. And kids and families and grandparents get opportunity to go on that low cost in and off around. Okay.
No, we can't take turns, but Steve was next, then Stacey.
There's a lot of great groups in Devonport, not-for-profits and other organisations. Unfortunately, a lot of them are unknown to council. I think it took me 2 years to find out we actually had a Devonport Camera Club where it met at 7:30 on a Wednesday night at Reese High School in one of the teachers' lounge. What we'd like them to do is that every time they have an AGM, like their annual meeting, is to, as part of their election of office bearers, etc., have a dot point, an action there that they inform council of the new contacts, so we can get in contact with them and find out what they're doing and how we can increase a partnership with them, especially along with their activities. It also allows us then to promote our small and large grants, which are community grants, which are available twice a year, and they are able to put in there on a competitive basis for that. Other things that we've got at the moment is we've got the Learning Community Strategy, which includes the festival learning, which happens in September. And I would encourage all organisations that are involved with childcare and child play and child activities become part of that festival of learning. And so it just becomes an involvement of all our community across all ages, especially with the kids. With the opening of Living City, the open public space down there, the nature playground that we're going to have is going to be absolutely fantastic. Will attract a lot of people, and people attract people and kids. And of course, having the Mersey ferry to link up over the other side with Pirate Park would be as well.
Thanks, Steve. Stacey?
Yeah, just in terms of getting that
microphone, please.
Sorry, I'll get the hang of it eventually. In terms of getting information out there quickly and effectively, I still think that Visit Devonport website that council set up would be a great portal. But just on the waterfront and the trains, so many people have said to me, if we can just, once that waterfront precinct is finished and handed over to the community, you need to have the John River Railway train coming in and out, even if it's just going to the John River and coming back to the city. But activating that space with bike hire so that visitors and residents can jump on a bike and explore the city. Activate it with obviously the little ferry and the purpose-built wharf that will go there. So I think that waterfront precinct, if we activate that property and promote it, that's going to be just a wonderful free community space that we can leverage all sorts of opportunities from.
Yeah, and Alison?
I guess, yeah, a lot has been said already, but I can feel your pain. COVID has been kind of keeping us in the house a lot more, so it would be so nice to have more mother groups as well. When you first have your child, it's very important to have that as well. I don't know, I heard that they are not here anymore, and yeah, it would be so nice to have a building, kind of like a natural health building, which those kind of events can be held in free of charge. Hopefully, I think the council should be able to offer that, and it can be run by volunteers, or maybe a council worker can kind of coordinate those things. So very keen to have those communal gatherings. Very important for the city. So,
Alison? Oh, it's another question. Well, I'll take one more question from Alison, then we'll go over here. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll be quick. Thanks, Erin. I think it's really sad to see that we lose things like Taste the Harvest. We lost the show. We've got a real problem with volunteers. People want to go to these events, but they don't want to help. And all these events cost money. We don't make them sustainable going into the future. It's wonderful to see the other night we gave money out to some wonderful organisations to make sure that things continue, for example, the Apex Regatta. But we can't keep giving the money and not expecting them to show a return and start to show that they're going to be sustainable. I'm sorry, all these events can't always be free. People have got to learn that they cost money. It was $27,000 for us to do some fireworks at 9:30 this last New Year's. And people complained that we didn't do them at midnight. All right, we'll start a GoFundMe page and you can put the $27,000 in yourselves, guys, and come along at midnight. We'll put them on for you, no problem. So people have got to understand where this all comes from and how it costs money and how we want to do these things, but we've got to enable the entrepreneurs and the people that want to start things. We really have to be an open ear and try and get these people a foot in the door and let them try and run with things and enable them and let them see if they can do things like that. We've got to make sure that we've got accessibility. One more thing, accessibility. We made sure that there was better parking for this new playground that we've got. And we've got to make sure that we think about how people use what we create.
Yeah. One down the back.
Okay, one here first and then one down the back.
And also Lynn.
Marcus Tobin, look, thank you for the 11 candidates. It's going to make it tough for voting. A tough question. I'm in business. How can the council assist to recruit more professional people to our region? Who's going to put their hand up to speak?
We'll take two. Lee and Janine, I'm conscious of time, that's all.
Yeah, probably what you've done in your business have shown people what it's like to live in a city or a town like ours, to encourage your mechanics and your workers to enjoy that you have your 2 minutes, hold up around a roundabout, or you can do your run of a morning, get to work still by 8:30, still get home and have dinner with your children. We have to sell our lifestyle to people, and that's our GPs as well. Our GPs and medical practitioners, healthcare, child health that we have lost. We need to show them what it's like to live in a beautiful city with a lot at our doorstep. You know, we are unique. We've got great grounds, reserves, even the grounds for children now is really good. We've got to sell our city, and maybe council could do an overall what it's like to live in Devonport, because it's pretty cool.
Lee, before we go to another question.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Thanks, Marcus, for the question. Upscale. Make the city a place that people want to come and live. And by default, you will attract the people that have the necessary skills and who have the desire to live here. We are a unique city. We are in a unique location, and we have so much to offer. So it's about upscaling that and promoting what we have within the region. And that will attract the people where the work-life balance. if we can promote that within, outside of just our local community, and we can promote that nationally and internationally, we will attract people here. There's no doubt about that. I had a conversation with a gentleman in Hobart, and people are talking in Hobart and in the real estate industry. Anecdotally, most of the people that are moving to our region are getting out of Hobart because it's become too busy. They're looking for that life balance. And what we have to offer here, and it's a challenge, and I think, technology, using that to our advantage and, promoting the fact that we're a smart city, start thinking outside of the box. I think that's going to be the key to attracting people here in relation, especially from a professional perspective.
One more quick, Steve, and then
Thank
we'll
you.
go back to questions.
Okay, Devonport's Living City is a wonderful project, and it has and will continue to attract business here, as well as residents, etc., people moving here. The reason why is because we've situated, not only having a port with the spirits coming in, we've got an airport as well, and we can capture the whole of the northwest coast right here in Devonport and stop the leakage that's going to Launceston and Hobart. So that's an advantage. If I was setting up a business and I was looking for patronage from the surrounding areas, I'd be situated in Devonport because of the living city and because we're able to capture the whole of the northwest coast, and that's important. It's about lifestyle as well, and it's about, the health specialists that I've been talking to, two things they're after. Can I send my kids to a private school, and can I get a job for my partner? They're the two most important things we need to look at to try and attract those specialists. So we need, as Janine has said, create a perspective. We can have a talk to our golf club and talk about free membership. We can have a talk to Splash and talk about free membership. We can throw a bag of spuds in that boot if it means that we're going to attract a specialist to the town. But we need to think about it and we need to plan about it, and then we need to go out and get it and not wait for it.
All right, two more questions. One in the back, then Lynn's the last question, please.
I won't be long, Lynn. Good evening and thank you, Benoit. My name from Devonport, and well done, Janine, for your comments. I just wanted to congratulate the current council in the last 4 years for what has been achieved.
Yes.
It has been really, really great. I work right here locally and I can go for a walk and now the grass is out. It's fantastic. So again, for the selfless leaders that I've been leading in the last few difficult years, well done to you and well done for transparency. I really wish that it will be the same in years to come. A question of ignorance. There were planned a few years back to continue the living city with what some previous mayors have claimed to bring national retailers. I've lost the ball on that. Where are we on that? Is there going to be another stage or not?
Take two questions from Alison and Lee Murphy.
Thanks, Ben. Obviously we certainly did talk, and this is going back, previous to 2016 when this first all started, there was a plan A, B and C. And part of it was a retail precinct as well. But then online kicked in, and then we had the C word, COVID, and that changed online again. It's changed the way we look at the demographic of what is needed in an area. We certainly want to encourage retailers to come here as well as developers, but we need to understand that there is a big change going on right around the nation, let alone the world, in how things are looked. A lot of Westfields are closing. A lot of big retailers that we did talk to are pulling in and changing their stores or closing their stores. So we've got to be really careful. We're really lucky to get Hill Street here. It was great. It was a good thing. That certainly happened during that time when we were talking about a retail precinct, and I think that helped what we needed at the time, and certainly continue to show that we can encourage those type of developers or retailers to come here. But people talk about Audi, they talk about Big W, they talk about, well, we talked to those, they didn't want to come at the time. Doesn't mean that we close our doors and don't want to encourage anyone to come here. But if people have got to understand it's all well and good to say what we need is, it doesn't mean those people want to come or those companies want to come. But we are open to that, we're open for business, and we want to encourage anyone, and we'll see what we can do. But remember, we've only got so much space down here in our CBD. People go, Bunnings should have come down here. Well, what do? Destroy all the stores and put Bunnings right down in the middle of it. It doesn't work. The Homemaker Centre's been amazing. and it's reinvigorated the area. Now we've got another Coles or a Woolworths going to go up in that area as well. That's great. There's room for it. Where are we going to put it down here? Do we put it over the river? Do we, we've got to find an area. We've certainly encouraged people to go to East Devonport, and that's not always the case.
Lee's the last question before we go to Lynn, please.
Thanks, Ben. Market forces dictate what happens in that space, ultimately. And that's the cold hard reality. And we need to face that. Where the opportunities exist is Devonport needs to go niche, because it's going to be those niche experiences that are going to attract people into the CBDs. It's having those differing offerings that is driven by small business. Small business is the underpinning thing of any community. It's not necessarily big business. Big business takes our money and it takes it away. Yes, it employs a few people, but the actual buying into the community is only minor. So I think market forces will dictate in relation to what's going to happen from a national and international retailer perspective. But I think the focus should be on niche, because I think that's, when you look at the Trove, what does it offer? It offers a niche shopping experience. Reliquary, for example, a number of other offerings over there. So I think that should be the focus, and with the support of the DCCI, I believe from a retail strategy perspective, that's where we'll head.
All right, Lee, your last question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lynn Laycock, very proud Devonport resident and councillor. Just take the opportunity to thank Benoit for his kind words to all the council, the current council and previous councils that have been there to make these hard decisions. But my question, Mr. Chairman, is could you please ask the candidates once more to put their hand up if they are in favour or they're not in favour of opening them all up, because that's a lot of interest to people, and it was too quick for me to get an idea of who said what.
Stay standing, Lynn. Stay standing. Don't sit. Righto, so last question is, those councillors in favour of opening up the mail, hands up.
I need more information.
Yes or no?
Yes or no answer.
Righto, so there we are.
It's no, Vanessa.
Right.
Yes or no?
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the night. Time's up. We're over time. I do thank everybody for coming out, because without you people, it doesn't make the night. I do thank our candidates for coming out. We've got 12 candidates, 9 seats available. I wish you all the best. You've got a few more weeks to run, and thank you.